Test, test. 1, 2, 3. Right. This is the Hyperfixated Fan. I'm Hunter.
I'm Rachel.
And today, if you couldn't tell by that super authentic intro, we will be discussing the Magnus Archives, my all-time favorite horror podcast.
The Magnus Archives.
The thing that honestly took over my pandemic life. So...
Mm-hmm. If you haven't listened to it, you were probably very confused by that intro. But...
we'll get there. We'll get there. Our normal reminders, spoilers ahead.
Yep.
And we will, I guess, adult and mature content, all that jazz. So fair warnings for both of those. Okay, You've been warned. For anyone unfamiliar, the Magnus Archives is a horror podcast, 5-season long, 200 episodes, plus some bonus content, a good chunk of bonus content.
Yeah.
And it is...
very queer.
Very queer. And it's all about, like, the Magnus Institute, an institute that records and archives people's experiences with the supernatural. They do, like, basic research, just be like, this is where it happened, and maybe it happened, but they don't investigate or do any, like...
No.
It's not the X-Files. They don't, like, go and hunt the ghosts. They just document.
It's documenting, yeah.
And you get... the main character, Jonathan Sims, Ep 1. He's like, hello, it's me, Jonathan Sims, of the head archivist of the Magnus Institute, London.
Yep. As
he has taken over the position of head archivist from the previous Gertrude Robinson, who has...
gone missing at the beginning.
Yeah, who has disappeared and left the position open for John and his new archival assistants to come in and just... reorganize the place, and he is committing some of those statements to audio for us.
Yeah.
Is the premise of the show.
Yeah.
And
it gets way more complicated than that, like, but that is the basic premise, and this is definitely Hunter's things.
Yeah, it's way more my hyperfixation, but we've both listened to it.
I do like it.
It starts out very much a, you think it's a...
What's it called?
Anthology. For, like, the first solid while, it's
honestly,
like hello, it's me, John, here's a new statement. Yeah. And then you start going, wait a minute, wasn't that name mentioned in that other statement? And didn't John mention that guy before? And then you start, and it's like, oh, a new voice is here. It's one of the archival assistants, Tim. And, it's John's boss, Elias. And then, oh no, these things are actively interfering with the Institute, and then eventually you care more about the assistants and what they're up to than this, not more, because the statements are always very, very good. But that's the premise of the archives.
It starts
of
off
the Magnus
as
Archives.
An anthology, but you realize, like, it's all connected, and that's what makes it so good, like, when you first realize that. Because I remember when I got into it, like, we hadn't met at the time, I don't think.
No, we didn't know each other yet.
So, like, I just stumbled across it. I didn't really know what to expect, and then when I listened to it, actually, like, when I got COVID. Because I was like, I can't watch TV, I can't read, I feel like shit, so I can only listen. So I just listened to it, like, I binged it, and so as I was binging it, I was like, oh my god, it's all connected.
It's all here. God, the way I discovered Magnus, it's so funny because I saw fan art of it from season 5.
Oh my god.
Which
last season.
So, without giving spoilers, season 5 has some... No, I can't give spoilers. It's our thing, and I said that at the beginning.
I'm just so used to like it. Normies.
Normally, I'm like hyping it up for people who I'm introducing it to.
And she doesn't give spoilers.
And I'm like, I cannot tell you anything after season 3, because the way I divide the show is there's seasons 1 and 2, and then season 3 is where you learn shit, and then season 5 is when everything happens.
Yeah, season 5, like, it's got a very different vibe.
Yeah, so. And God, I have so many notes that I'm waiting to get to. But I saw an episode, or I saw fan art from specifically. It was the episode. I actually wrote it down because it was episode 165, Revolution, which is it's a Stranger episode. It's the one with the merry-go-round.
I love merry-go-round shit, and it's like, one.
First of all, the statement in that episode is poetry, which is really fun. It's a new form of statement.
Cool.
It's very neat. Cool. But that's the first episode where John like actively on purpose smites because it's the not them and they just haunted him with Sasha. Yeah. And it's like, it's that moment, and it's like, that was the fan art. It was like, you could see some of the carousel in the background, that's cool. And it's, the ceaseless watcher, turn your gaze upon this wretched thing. Yes. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I think I'd been seeing fan art of various season 5 scenes from someone I follow for like a hot minute. Yeah. But it was like this one scene, I was like, I don't know what is happening here. Yeah. But I need to get into this. Yeah. So I started listening, and then over the process of catching up, because I caught up by the time the second season 5 hiatus happened. Excuse me. But like by the time I caught up, I had forgotten about the fan art. Completely forgotten about it.
Really?
Yeah. So then when I got to that episode and heard that line, I was like, oh, that's what that was about. I remember. So
I feel like I also got into it by fan art, but I think mine was fan art of like Elias randomly, but I liked the style of it, and I liked the like words on it. It was like, come with me and you'll see a world of pure imagination, like from Willy Wonka. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I love Willy Wonka.
There is so much cool fan art of Elias out there.
Yeah.
So much of the fan art for Magnus is
it's really good.
They do a lot of art in like the Leyendecker style. Which I love Leyendecker anyway. His art is so cool. So to see so much of like Magnus stuff in like the style cool. of Leyendecker, is JC Leyendecker? I don't remember. Leyendecker is so cool because I'm like, it suits the vibe so well.
It's like horror art, and I love everything horror. So seeing the art is just amazing.
It's incredible. I love it so dearly.
Okay.
Yes. There's so many notes.
Also about the just show in general,
yes.
like I like that like it varies by how long, like the episodes can range from 20 minutes to like an hour.
Yeah.
Like it's very much like variable depending on like the episode itself and like what is happening with the plot and everything. But it's good because like you can listen to a longer one or you can listen to kind of like a more bite-sized one. And that's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah. And even within that, it never gets like too long. Like you never feel like you're slogging through it. God. Yeah, I remember as season 5 was coming out when I finally had like caught up and I was waiting for the week episodes coming out. And I had like, I started like, what's the word I'm looking for? I became a part of their Patreon because I wanted that early release.
Yeah.
I was like, it would release during my work day. Because, I'm not British.
Yeah.
So it was like the middle of my work
day. And that's the worst time. Because you're like anticipating it the whole time and then you're just freaking out about it after.
Well, I truly would, unless I had a work call happening, because I do work from home, I would just like put it on and then I would have the Discord open. I'm like trying to work while I listen, but nothing got done. Nothing got done at all while I would listen to those. Nice. And it was great. And as a fun fact, being a part of the Patreon, I don't know if a lot people who are like obsessively online were aware of this, but people who are less obsessed may not. Nico, who was one of the sound editors and is still involved, I believe, with Protocol. Which, by the way, Protocol,
the new one.
I think there are 4 episodes in at this point. I have not listened to them
yet.
Either. Because it's one of those things I'm too excited to listen at this point. I think I'm going to build up and then binge. Yeah. But Nico would get on the day before the Patreon release and would give us an emoji hint for the next episode.
That's why you do it with your own fics.
Yes. And it was, I've started doing that. I have a Discord for my fanfics. And when I have an ongoing fic, I do that because Nico, I thought it was such a fun idea.
Yeah, that's cute.
He would like put in, I remember there was one. It was right before, I think it was the episode before the second hiatus break, actually.
Okay.
And he put in the like masquerade mask emoji. And so of course naturally the whole Discord was freaking out. We were like, oh my god, it's gonna be a stranger episode. The stranger's gonna do something real nasty. Like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? Like, is Helen gonna be there? Like, what are we doing? Like, there were like, because like, you know, Helen, there were a lot of theories going on in the Discord that were like strictly Discord stuff, and they're like, oh, is this theory gonna be the thing? Is this? And then it just turned out that it was like, oh, Melanie and Georgie, or no, it was Melanie and Georgie show up, but Martin found them before John did. So he comes up and he's like, hi, John, things are totally normal. And John was like, Martin, who are you and what have you done with my Martin? He's like, don't worry about it, John, just walk this direction so we can go through the secret door. And it was the symbol.
I do remember that.
And the symbol was totally represented. It like that was it. It was just Martin acts a little weird and has to pretend to be normal, and it's a mask.
The most loosely associated. And it was like,
emoji. Nico, you can't do this to us.
That's funny.
It was well. Some people would. There were times we did guess what the emoji meant. And there were times we didn't.
Yeah, of course. We should go through all the fears. What are all the fears?
Yes, okay.
I keep forgetting.
Smirks 14/15. Yeah, because there's the birth of the 15th. Yeah. Or, you know, maybe the birth of the I love the theory of the 14. I do dissect all horror that I, like, go through by the 14.
It's fun.
I had a debate the other day. Excuse me. With someone online. We got into... through a circuitous conversation about if Jesus Christ was an avatar, what fear would he represent? We sort of landed on a combination of the end and the buried. I'm still
end.
Yeah, I'm mostly leaning towards the end, but I totally see where they were coming from with the buried. So we kind of ended on a combo. That's neither here nor there. So the 14. So there is the end, fear of death, and the things associated with it. Yep. The buried, which...
fear of being underground.
Underground, crushing contained, weight, pressure, claustrophobia. Commonly considered contrary to the buried is the vast. Wide open spaces, the sky falling, like the ocean.
Yeah, the ocean.
Things that are too big to comprehend. Space, for sure.
Fucking space.
Space is terrifying.
I hate space.
Let's see, there's the beholding, the eye, being known or knowing too much, discovering information you are better off not knowing, paranoia. Being watched. Hello, Yora. Hello, baby.
The hunt.
The hunt. Oh, the more visceral ones always like weird me out.
Yeah.
So the hunt, that's the fear of like being hunted.
Murder.
Yeah. And the ever chase. So that's like being a never-ending, the never-ending hunt on both sides. I think that can be like never catching your prey, never being able to find absolution. Then there's along with that, there's the flesh, which,
body horror.
God, the flesh ones, the flesh statements. Anytime I try and put someone onto this podcast, I'm like, okay, just a heads up. There is one episode very early on that I always skip on my re-listens. And it's the one where the guy just has meat plastered to all the walls in his apartment. And it like starts to drip down into the apartment below him. I want to say it's like 19 or something.
It's pretty early.
Or no, it's 9 or so. It's like somewhere very early, and it's like the first like real like flesh statement.
It is. The flesh one that always scares me is the one where the guy's like trapped in the slaughterhouse.
Yeah, that one it's freaky.
Very scary to me.
Believe, like that, those I can usually just, I'm like, yeah, that's spooky anyway. But when they start getting into like, this is meat and it's slimy, I'm like, please take it away from me.
Food poisoning.
But yeah, so that's fear of like, flesh itself, meat, cannibalism on either side, being the one eaten or doing the eating.
Fucked up bodies.
Blatant body horror. Anything of that kind of nature. And then there's the slaughter, which is kind of, there's war, things with blades and knives and ripping and tearing and shredding. Kind of your
gore.
your blatant slasher kind of horror kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of intricacies within all of these, as well as lots of metaphorical versions of all of them.
The stranger.
The stranger. Oh boy, the stranger. So that's
Nicola.
Nicola Orsanov, my beloved, my beloved.
Great voice acting.
Jess, played by Jessica.
I don't know.
Oh shit, she's hang on, Jessica Law. I know her name because she's also in the Mechanisms, or formerly of the Mechanisms, where the toy soldier played Jessica Law, which the toy soldier is also very much of the stranger fear. I'm pretty sure that's exactly why Johnny was like, or I assume Johnny was like, hey Jess, I wrote this character exactly for you. Will you please come and play Nicola?
Yeah.
Because look, if you liked The Stranger, please, I'm begging you, check out the Mechanisms. It's Johnny's old band, no longer active. I think they only broke up in 2020, like very recently. They're that's gonna be another episode for me, guys. I'm just gonna tell you that now. It's so extremely queer. It is sci-fi. It's folk punk cabaret. I'll get into that in a whole other episode, I promise.
It's a whole thing.
But Jessica, phenomenal as Nicola. But it's the fear of like the person you see is not who they appear to be.
Yeah.
Fear of like masks and a part of it is like paranoia of who you are talking to and who you are seeing, and do you actually know who you are interacting with. Fear of imposters, fear of the people you know are being replaced, things like that.
And just like strangers.
And just strangers in general, true. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good one.
I think at one point they discussed like the changeling myth is like based on that. And then similar is the spiral.
My fave.
We love the spiral here.
Throats of delusion incarnate.
One of our faves.
Deceit.
Which is a fear of insanity.
Losing your mind.
Not trusting your own mind. And then like one of my favorite, and this one came later in like season 5, was when you realize that like one of our allies, ? Is totally based on the fact that is this a friend or not, and it's because that character is based on gaslighting. They are gaslighting incarnate, and I love it.
It's great.
Oh, Helen!
It's great. Michael's my fave. I love Michael.
I'll be honest. I like Helen grated on me from the beginning, and I think it's because it was that whole like, oh, I'm your bestie, but am I? The whole time. And I was like, and it's like, because we knew the original Helen, so I was just like, how dare you do this to her?
Yeah, we knew the original Helen,
And so it's like, I can't trust this. And then at the end it came out like, no, literally, I'm the friend that's friendly until you turn your back. That's legitimately who I am from the very beginning. And I was like, you just said it. Yeah. You just said the words exactly.
Yep, it's great.
It was so good. And then like, Michael! So the thing is, we're discussing for the people who have not listened, there's a character called the Distortion. Except sometimes it's called Michael. Except sometimes it's called Helen. And they're all the same character, except they're all not the same character.
Yeah.
They're entirely different, except when they're the same.
Yeah, and that's the point of it. It doesn't make sense.
And it can't make sense, but yes, it is not what it is. And that's the spiral. Yeah,
but I love Michael so much because, like, the whole thing is like, okay, you have this human, starts out human.
Yeah, it just started out as a guy named Michael.
But then, like, it
one of the many Michaels.
Melds with the distortion, and so it becomes, like, Michael, capital M, like, different.
A new Michael.
Yeah, so it's, like, both of those things together, and then, like, Michael's whole thing throughout the whole thing is, like, not knowing its identity. Like, not knowing who it is.
Or isn't.
Exactly, and that's the whole point of it, but like it has so much conflict in itself, and like I love like this one fan art that always comes to mind is like Michael, but like his neck is like twisty.
Ooh, good.
And then the caption is the thing that wears my flesh can still feel my anger.
Ooh, that's very good for them.
Because like Michael, when he merges with the distortion, like is very wrathful of the person who kind of tricked him into that.
Yeah, he was fully betrayed into becoming this thing.
Yeah, so it's like the fear entity can still feel that like trauma and that wrath, and you know how I love wrath, so I love that so much.
And identity porn.
Yes, identity porn.
Which is exactly what this character is. There's also it's God, the spiral is
love it.
Fucking crazy, dude. I adore it. It also is things like fractals and like the things that catch and hold the attention and can't be defined.
Yeah.
Which I love that shit. I absolutely just made a monster in my D&D campaign and a whole like house based on Michael and what he does, and it was very fun.
The inspiration.
It's big fans here. Okay, let's see. So
I think
who are we? What are we missing?
Jane Prentice. What is?
Ooh, corruption.
The corruption, yeah.
So corruption covers
the
kind of a
lot.
The worms. So that's a things of dirt, germs, dirt, disease.
Yeah.
But it can also be the metaphorical form of corruption within like
morality.
Yeah, morality, corruption, which is wild because it also relates to love so strongly. Like almost every major corruption statement.
The plot has to do with love.
Yeah, it relates like the one that I think the statement was even called agape. Was the one with the dog in the like cult.
Oh God, yeah.
Which is a weird sentence to say, you know, the dog in the cult.
Yep, definitely.
But like they talked about like this, and this was like a cult based on like love, and then they ended up like fully devoting themselves to this sickly and famished and dying dog that was filled with the corruption. That was an avatar of the corruption. It's a whole thing, and then like Jane Prentice, who is an avatar of the corruption and is filled with worms. She is. She is worms. If you have that thing where you don't like holes in things, don't think about Jane Prentice because that's all she is.
She's holes. She's Swiss cheese.
She is Swiss cheese filled with worms.
Yeah.
Bad to think about, bad to look at. I've seen really cool fan art of her, and then I have to scroll quickly away.
Yeah, it's gross.
She's wonderful. She did steal Martin's phone and send bug
so
puns for like 2 straight weeks when she had him trapped in his own apartment. So like, you know, I can appreciate her as a character.
Yeah.
So she's fun. But yeah, corruption. That one's a gnarly one.
The other one is the fire one?
Desolation.
The desolation, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they all have multiple names, but the desolation is fear of like absolute destruction. So it's fire, but without the warmth and light. So
it's purely burning.
Yeah, burning and pain. It's torture. It's destruction of everything you've built up in life. It's absolute loss.
Yeah. And wow, that is Agnes, is it not? Like,
but Agnes is such a tragic story.
I know.
I love her.
That's why she's the chosen one.
I know. God, that poor girl. That poor girl. She just wanted to live a normal life and drink her coffee and have a boyfriend. And then she burned his face off.
Yeah, of course.
He thought it was fine though. He was like, you know, worth it. Would do again. Would do again.
Not the worst day I've been on.
Jack Barnaby, something like that.
Barnaby. I don't know.
Bless his heart. You know, he was like, he. I think he liked her. I think he loved her. I think he was into it.
That was a good one though.
The dark.
The dark.
Which is, you know, your classic fear of the dark. And
being able to see.
Yeah, being blocked from the truth. It's like that one's usually held up as the antithesis to the eye, the beholding.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward though, usually.
Like because the dark is like the blind guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm sure you've seen the fan art of like him, and it's like really beautiful. And it's from that episode from like the 1800s where he's like, "Pray the Sandman only brings you sleep." Love that.
Because he's like...
Love that.
There is the one episode where they actually talk about, like, the Sandman and, like, how it makes the eyes, like, bleed out or whatever.
It's great, because it's like
great.
He comes
it's terrifying.
To you in the dark when you're sleeping and shit like that. It's really good.
He also has the ability to, like, possess and take over people's bodies, which is...
freaky.
Terrifying. He tried to do that to a small child.
Yep.
And then, while he did not succeed... he did leave Caleb very messed up.
Yeah, not cool.
Alas. What can you do?
One more.
I
don't know.
Let's see. We've done the hunt, the flesh, the slaughter. We did all the like gory ones.
Yeah.
Spiral Stranger. Desolation. Vast. Buried. Beholding.
Yeah.
Dark. What am I missing? What am I
I don't
missing?
know.
What am I
I
missing?
always forget
Oh, the
one.
web. The web.
Oh my god, I can't believe you
How do we-
the web.
Okay, so the web, first of all, fear of spiders, because that one, I feel like that feels weird connected to what else the web is a part of, but like, it also kind of tracks.
It's the metaphor.
It's the it's like the rest of the web is like metaphor, and then it's like, but also just real spiders.
Yeah.
But it's also like the fear of being manipulated, not being in control of your own actions, and like addiction as well.
Also, I think like not having free will.
Yeah, for sure.
That fear is a big one.
So, I can't believe I forgot the web. The web is like literally one of my faves.
But it's like in the show too. It's like you kind of forget about it because it's not.
It's lurking in the background.
It is lurking in the background
the whole time.
Yeah, and then it finally comes out like at the end, like what's happening with it. So it's good.
Annabelle Kane, my
beloved.
beloved.
I made like a list of my favorite episodes and the ones that scare me the most. And I already said like the slaughterhouse one, but also the one where she's getting experimented on in the college. Yeah. That one scares the shit out of me.
God, yeah, it's freaky.
Yeah.
God. And then the not of Smirks 14, but the 15th potential fear, which we do see in season 5 with the domains.
It's 14, right? Because there's 13 now.
No, it's Smirks 14, and then there's a 15th.
Smirk is 14?
Yeah.
By himself?
I mean, it's his categorization of 14.
We only did 13 though, I counted.
Who am I missing?
I know, I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh no, what am I missing now?
Isn't there another, like, fire one, or, like, a cult one?
I think. Lonely. We forgot the Lonely.
Oh, the...
Peter Lucas.
Rip.
You know, they would have liked it. So that is the fear of... that's the fear of isolation, being alone, but also being alone in a crowd.
Yeah.
Being forgotten.
Like, no one can relate to you. No one cares about you.
Yeah.
Grief is also
grief
one.
Kind of all of the things associated with that.
Okay, we got it now.
Okay. I'm so glad you were keeping count, because I just assumed...
Wait a second. But yeah, the 15th one is like the apocalypse one.
Yeah, the extinction. The fear of what comes after humanity.
The fear of the end of the world.
Yes.
Global warming, all that.
All that jazz.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. It's terrifying. And yeah, there's debate, even within the show, of like whether that is truly a new emerging fear.
Or if it's just part of the end.
Yeah. Or like if it can, like, depending on how it displays, like we can just categorize, oh, this flavor of that is actually just this one, and this flavor of that is this one.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is fun to think about.
It is like, fun.
Is this truly its own thing, or is it just new flavors of the old?
Yes, for sure.
And then, of course, there's also debate of, like, Smirks 14, is that actually a real thing? And Smirk was right when he discovered this way of categorizing? Or is it like, this man was like, this is my list, and everyone else is like, that seems legit to me?
Honestly, yeah.
So there's really no way to know within the world. And it's
that's just how he conceptualizes them.
Yeah, which honestly is a good way to categorize, and I'm into it.
Yay for categorization.
Big fan. Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah.
Big fan of that.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Did you have more on that?
Not really.
Cool.
I was gonna change the topic.
Fabulous. May I discuss the tones of the seasons?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think it's super interesting going through. I did a re-listen a few months ago, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And first of all, doing it on a re-listen is both hilarious and infuriating.
Because you, like, know what's happening the whole time.
Exactly. And it made me so angry because they tell you the whole plot of, like, they tell you the answers. They give you literally all the answers in the first trailer of the show. The first trailer, they just hand you the answers to this whole mystery. Yeah. But yeah, it's like you wouldn't know that that's what you're listening to. And I'm just like...
Yeah.
There's so many times that like Johnny puts in the for those not aware, Johnny Sims is the writer of the show. Alexander J. Mule, Alex, is the director of the show. Johnny also plays Jonathan Sims.
He literally named the character after himself.
He was a fool and he regrets it.
Yeah.
And then Alex plays Martin, who is one of the archival assistants, but also the John's main, John's boyfriend, the main romantic interest. Really the only romantic interest. But,
I guess.
God. I mean...
Yeah.
No, John doesn't... He's not...
No, he's not interested
He
in
has an ex-girlfriend, but that's it.
I was just thinking, like, there's other romance in this show.
Oh, yeah. I just meant for our main character.
For the dude, yeah.
But, like, there are so many times in listening to it where I was just like, that was the main plot. That's all the answers we needed right there. John, listen. Yeah. Johnny, how dare you? So that's super fun. But,
It is.
But, like, also it's just, like, and also season two is so funny because John is like, yes, and that's the statement. Case, statement ends.
Yeah.
You hear the click, and then you hear another click, and John's like, I'm running for my life in the tunnel, supplemental. And it's just like, I'm begging you to just go home and take a nap.
Yeah, he is, like, he goes a bit crazy in the second season.
It's so, like...
That's the theme of the second season.
Exactly, really is, like, literally. But the way I've categorized it for myself, like, in my notes here, was, like, season 1 is anthology until it isn't.
Yep.
And then the red string starts to come out, but mostly by accident.
Yes.
So you can, like, start making connections where
but
you're like...
But you don't know what's happening yet.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I've just noticed this name was mentioned twice.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's a connection I made, but it doesn't... I have no significance to add to that. Season 2 is paranoia, is the primary theme, the primary, like, tone of the thing. Red string is now on purpose, but there are too many red herrings. Season 3 is distrust, disconnect, denial, and anger, with still a touch of hope that we can fix this.
Like, interpersonal problems, basically.
God, left and right. But luckily with season 3, we do get to introduce Georgie and the Admiral, which does help.
The Admiral, the cat.
I love the Admiral with all my heart and soul.
Yeah,
I would die for him.
Yes.
But anyone else, literally anyone else, there's no trust. People are in denial about what's like Basir in particular is like, I don't care, we're cutting that off. In denial about like the Institute, but also about like Daisy, and then like Tim doesn't trust fucking anyone.
No, Tim has a lot of anger.
And so angry, and John can't trust anyone at the Institute because he's still trying to deal with his own stuff, and also going to America for half the time and getting caught by cops who are also monsters.
Yeah.
And then we get to season 4, which is depression, isolation, stubbornness, and giving in to keep up the fight.
Yeah.
Which I think is so interesting, because, like, there is no one who is still friends with anyone else in season 4.
Yeah.
Like, at best, we have Melanie and Helen are sort of friendly, and Melanie and Basira are kind of on good terms. Enough.
Yeah.
They're not friends. So everyone is now isolated.
Definitely depression era.
Super depression era. We've got Martin working with Peter. He has, like, somewhat given in to Peter to keep the Institute running and to protect John and to look into this extinction birth situation. And, like, John is like, I'm giving into some of my monstrous instincts so that I can, like, stay alive to maybe help Martin.
Yeah.
So, like, people are giving in, but to keep up the fight.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is bad.
Justifying the means for them.
Exactly. It's bad for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Melanie is going crazy with rage.
Yep.
Melanie. I have so many thoughts on Melanie. We'll get to that in a bit. And then finally we get to season 5, which...
Pure horror.
The thing about season 5, the tonal shift between 1 through 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Buck wild. Because yes, we do shift from, like, the mystery adventure horror to, like, apocalypse, pure horror going on.
Horror.
And then we go from the, like, abstract horrors that we've been seeing to, like,
legit
real life examples of these horrors, which is wild now that we're in the dream logic world.
Yeah. I like to kind of label it like, in my mind, I differentiate horror movies between, like, okay, the ones that are, like, enjoyable and, like, the ones that, like, I know are, like, fake and everything, but it's still, like, horror, it's still scary. And then the ones that are, like, traumatizing to me of, like, this is too much. I don't know what it is about it, but it's really just getting to me on a deeper level. And I feel like that's season 5.
There's absolutely, there's so much in season 5 where it's like, that's a little too real, actually.
Yeah, that's a bit too much. But that's what makes it so good.
Yeah. But then at the same time, there's a shift from the despair of season 4 to
the hope.
Rom-com era John Martin.
Yeah. And
I mean, it takes a minute to, like, kick in. But once it's there, you're like, oh, you guys are having a date. Oh, look at you guys flirting in the, like, in the mausoleum.
Yeah.
Like...
And
it's so weird.
It's very cute. And, like, in addition to, like, the traumatic horror that's going on in season 5, I also think there's a bit more hope. Because, like, in season 1 through 4, it's, like, fear of what could, the worst case scenario. But then it's, like, you get to the worst case scenario in season 5. Yeah. And then it's, like, okay, where do we go from here? Well, we can only make it better, basically. So we're gonna try.
We can't make it worse.
Yeah. And I really like that. Just, the, like... the profession I am in, like, that is kind of the mindset change that people go through, and that is very powerful to think about, because it's like, okay, like, I'm fearing what's gonna happen, but then it actually happens, and how do I deal with that? Like, I'm still alive, like, what am I gonna do now? Sort of thing. And I think that's very human. Yeah.
And, like, we definitely see them deal with the, like, repercussions of the apocalypse at first in the, like, the cabin episode at the beginning, and, like, the first few episodes is, like, definitely John dealing, and I mean, and it definitely follows him through the, like, guilt of this was my fault, even though it fully was not. But, like, you can't tell him that. Absolutely not. Like, of course he's going to blame himself, because it was, like, his mouth that said the words that triggered the apocalypse. And, like, I understand where he's coming from, and poor man.
Definitely Elias's fault, though.
Oh, for sure. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. But it's something that he carries all the way through to, like, the very end, and, like, why he feels so strongly about his, like, his choice in his, like, trolley problem situation at the end. Which, like, God, I could... Hello, baby. Why he is so, like, enthusiastic about, like, no, I'm not going to pass this on to other worlds.
Right.
Even if it saves ours. He's like, I've doomed this world.
I'm not doing it.
It's too late. We can't fix it. We don't have to doom others.
Yeah. And it's very good to think that way, making a choice like that.
And it's unfortunate that he has to undo his choice in the end.
Yeah.
Because just, like, all the circumstances, everything shifts, because, again, that motherfucking lighter.
Yeah.
Always in his blind spot.
Yeah.
The perfect Chekhov's gun of the lighter, stabbing him from every angle, or I guess it's a gun, shooting him from every angle, burning him from all directions.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it so much. Because people kept, like, I remember when it first showed up in the plot, and John was like, a thing with a spider web on it. A symbol of the thing I fear most in this world.
Yep.
Guess I'll just stick that in my pocket. And I was like...
I guess I'll keep it.
I was like, I'm sorry, you're gonna what?
Yeah.
And then everyone was like, hey, buddy, what's that you got? He's like, nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sorry, you what?
Yeah.
God. And then it just kept happening. And then the one time he was like, oh no, don't worry, I have the lighter. It's like, You mean the lighter that you never remember? Mm-hmm. You remember that it exists now? Yep. Now that it's not in your possession? Mm-hmm. Hey, John, do you see an issue with that?
Yeah.
It
is literally the thread.
It broke my heart.
Yeah.
But it was also so good because it's like...
good.
It was like the perfect moment of a beautiful tragedy.
Yeah.
It's like this was meant to happen from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I still wonder what Johnny's initial plan was, because I know he said that he changed it at the end from what was it? It was some
I don't know.
Some dessert of like horrific ends into a chocolate tort of tragedy or something like that.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find the quote later, but I'll throw it in the Discord if I do. But yeah, no, it was...
I'm very impressed by, like, just how creative he is, you know?
Right?
Like, 200 episodes, and, like, each one basically has its own plot. Like, that's 200 stories. Like, that's crazy to me.
I remember in one of the, like, FAQ things they did between the seasons, he talked about how occasionally he'll just, like, find a thing that he's like, that could be made really weird, and he just has like a list of like historical events or just like strange items that he's seen, and he just kind of like jots them down in his notes app in his phone or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I've got a lot of these.
That's crazy.
Most of them make it into episodes, a lot of them don't. Whatever strikes my fancy that day.
Like, wow, that's crazy.
He's like, weird.
Yeah.
And like the one of the puppets that was used in the episode 3 finale for the stranger ritual.
Yeah. The unknowing.
Yeah. And they talked about how there was like this one particular like robot that did X thing.
Okay.
Johnny was like, yeah, I read an article on that, and that thing, wild. So I wrote that down. That thing, historically, wild.
Nice.
So there's a lot of things like that. It's like locations or historical events or just weird trinkets he sees, and he's like, I can make a story out of that someday, so I will.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's really fun, the weird little bits that you can just strike inspiration, I guess. He's cool. Very good at finding the right bits of inspiration.
Yeah. We need to talk about Jerry.
Jerry Delano, not Gerard Key. We need to specify. Actually, there is a real specification I always have to make.
Like Gerard, not Jared.
Yes!
Yeah, right? Because literally, like, his accent, every time I heard it, I'm like, okay, Jared.
It's Jared. It's Jared. But it's every time it's Jared.
But he's actually saying Gerard, but in, like, a British accent. So I'm like, I can't even do a British accent.
Right? Every time. This is another warning I give to people when all right, you're listening to it now. Here's the thing. Yeah. There are two characters. There is Gerard Key, and then there's Jared
Hopworth.
Thank you. I wanted to say Buckworth, and I was like, that's incorrect. Hopworth. Jared Hopworth.
Yeah. But you think there's two Jareds.
And Gerard.
Yeah.
Johnny can't say Gerard.
He can't say
so
Gerard.
He just says Jared.
It's
Jared. Jared Key. And I'm like, it's not. Just say Gerard. And I don't know if you saw when this went around Twitter, but apparently there's somewhere in the entirety of Magnus Archives where Alex had to go back in and re-record a Johnny line. Just whatever happened, there was something funky with the audio, so Alex recorded a Johnny line.
Okay.
And he's like, you can't tell. There's no way to find it. But just know that's in there, because I like to torment you with this information. And people have theorized, they're like, I think it might be this line, I think it might be this line. I have my theory on what it is. I have it written down somewhere, I should have looked it up. But the reason I think it's that particular line is it's because it's the only time in the entire fucking podcast that you hear John Sims say Gerard and not Jared. And I'm like, I heard the full name Gerard there. I'm pretty sure that's got to be Alex.
Yeah, honestly.
But anyway, yeah, we can go back to Jerry, actually.
Yeah. I love Jerry.
I love Jerry!
And it's so sad because, like, he is just, like, ghetto. Like, he's dead in the whole thing. He's dead the whole time.
He's dead the whole time!
But you hear so much about him, and, like, you reconstruct his life and, like, what he went through and everything. It's like, oh,
him being...
boy.
He's a tall goth man with the world's worst dye job and tattoos all over his eyes. And he just hates his mom and wants to get rid of lighteners so his mom can't have them.
He smokes, like...
He smokes so much.
He's trans.
I love him.
Yeah, he's great.
And he just wants friends.
He definitely deserved better. Like,
he deserves so much better.
He freaking dies from a brain tumor, which is what his dad dies of too.
It's so sad. He deserves better than his mom. He never got to meet his dad.
Yeah.
He deserves better than Gertrude.
Yeah.
Fuck Gertrude.
Yeah.
And he didn't deserve to be turned into a book.
Yeah.
He hated those books.
Yeah.
With a passion.
Yeah.
He spent most of his life hunting those down. Gertrude.
Yeah.
I thought you cared about this boy. Mm-hmm. Like you were at least fond of him.
So I'm glad there's a bunch of fics out there about him, because honestly, he's one of the most popular fic topics, I think.
He's been shipped with, like, everyone.
Everybody.
I see him with John and Martin and John Martin and with Tim.
Really?
And with Michael. So much with Michael.
I just see him with Michael because that's what I look at.
I mean, that's fair. Him and Tim caught me off guard, but honestly... very cute.
Okay, gotcha.
Very cute. And then, like, him with John and Martin, also, very cute.
Nice.
I saw one, there's a fic series that I read that started out very much crack and then somehow ended up, like, becoming crack treated seriously, and then it was actually like, I think this is actually just serious fic now. Mm-hmm. But it started with, like, what if Melanie, it was like, what if we just swap everything so everyone gets a new role? And so Melanie was the archivist, and her archival assistants were, like, Daisy and Vasira, and I don't remember who. Georgie was, like, she's the one with the library. She was like Lightner, and Jerry was her roommate. I don't even remember what his role in it was, but, like, he and Georgie were just, like, besties. And it was just, it was the most wild fic, and I loved it. It was, and God, Tim went through, Tim and Sasha were the cops.
That's fun.
Oh, and Tim went through a whole fucking journey, dude.
That's great.
And he and Melanie ended up being, like, worsties.
Okay, nice.
And went through a whole journey together, because, you know, they went through the whole, like, buried situation, but I don't think it was, I can't remember if it was actually still the buried. It doesn't matter. Anyway, fics are great. Yeah. Read fan fictions, leave comments, because authors live for that shit.
Have you written any Magnus fanfic?
I have written 20,000 words of a Magnus fic. It has not been posted because I don't think I've covered enough plot in it yet.
Okay.
Yes, because you read it. Yeah, I had you do a little beta.
It's pretty long, honestly.
It's so long, and there's still not near enough plot in it yet.
Oh my god, I forgot.
So it's, for anyone curious, it's sort of a crossover with the Mechanisms, but not as the Mechanisms in their canon where they are space pirates, but more that Johnny, or John, not Johnny the author, Johnson, the character, has, I was like, what if John had an actual support system outside of work? What if he had friends? And so I decided that he, every Thursday night after work, leaves and goes to practice with his 9 best friends and is in a band.
It's great.
And it's very fun and silly, and
there's a lot of banter.
There's so much silliness and banter and whatever.
That's nice.
Someday I'll get to. I'm close to actually. I wanted to get through at least, like, what season 1 covers, or at least through the Prentice attack. Okay. And I think that's where I kind of stopped writing, was just before the Prentice attack, so I'm not very far.
That's okay.
But I'm also in the middle of so many skate fics. I can't go back to that right now.
Skate one is active.
Skate is so active.
Talk about that.
That'll be another episode, you guys.
Yeah. But I wrote a Jerry and Michael one.
You did, and it's so cute.
It took me like 6 months to write.
It was so good though.
Thanks.
I loved it. I got to beta that one.
It was fun, yeah.
Y'all, if you like weird identity porn, and not weird identity porn, like identity porn and then like weirdness about identity is what I meant by that.
Yeah, like sexuality and stuff.
Yeah. And then also just like people being like, is this friendship? I'm not sure.
You know,
it's like, I think I'm supposed to hunt you for sport, but I think we're friends actually. If you dig that kind of a relationship, you would super love it.
And also, like, I tagged that fic as like, is it queer platonic? Is it romance? I don't know.
Could be whatever.
That's another thing to explore in that fic that I play with.
Ooh, yeah, we should actually talk about queer rep in this
podcast.
So first of all, Jonathan Sims, main character, canonically asexual.
Yes, he is our role model.
He,
like, finally some representation
canonically
in a horror podcast.
Yes, canonically ace, canonically bi.
Yes.
Has an ex-girlfriend, gets himself a boyfriend.
Yes.
Canonically bi, canonically ace.
Like, I feel so seen.
There's like, I've definitely seen multiple posts going around. It's like, oh, you listen to the Magnus Archives? Have you been aced or bi'd?
Yeah,
like,
literally.
which one?
Yeah.
Or transed. Something happened here.
Yeah, definitely.
And it is true. I think I came to like, I think I was like, it was one of those things where it's like, I was pretty sure I'm ace. Then I like listened, and then like by the time I had finished listening, it's like, yep, that's for sure Z's.
That's special.
That's for sure Z's. I was aced by Magnus Archives.
I didn't go into it knowing he was ace, so that was like such a nice surprise.
Yeah, and it's like there is like a full conversation like in the podcast. Like I don't think they use the word ace because it's like not him having the conversation. Yeah. But it is very much heavily implied right then and there, and then also the author was like, oh yeah, like this was just a thing I knew about him, and then eventually I like the conversation happened in the dialogue, and then it was like I didn't realize people would be this excited about it, but yeah, dude,
straight privilege. That's what that is. But
I mean, to be fair, I think don't fully quote me on this, you or listeners, because I have only seen this in like a post or two online, so I don't know for sure. But I want to say Johnny came to terms with the fact that he was bi.
Okay.
Sometime within the span of the podcast. I don't want to say it had anything to do with the podcast, but I think somewhere within that span of time.
Good for him.
Yeah. And also, he was in the mix at that time as well, and that's like queer as fuck. Yeah. And also, his spouse is non-binary as well. So like, there was a lot going on
and that's reflected
in his life.
In the podcast. So, like there's so many identities, like even like people of color, like and like so much diversity, and it's great.
And there's like lots of statement givers are various genders and all sorts of people and pronouns. Like you get the jokes of like diversity win. The person attacked by the web in the theater is non-binary.
Yeah, literally diversity win.
Stuff like that. It's like, oh good, it's not just the straight people getting tortured.
Yeah, literally. It's great. I really love it. Good. Like I always say like, oh, I love queer horror, and when people are like, oh, what's queer horror? I'm like, have you listened to the Magnus Archives?
May I introduce you? Yeah, and it's not even one of those things where it's like we're gonna make it overtly queer. It's just like it just is.
Normalized.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, Johnny, or I keep saying Johnny. John is ace.
Yeah.
Tim is bi to pan, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Because he talks about how he's got like both a guy and a girl at the police station that he can like contact and flirt with for information. Yeah. We know like Georgie is also bi. Melanie. Do we know her?
I mean, Sapphic at the very least.
Yeah, at the very least. Yeah, because she dates Georgie.
Yeah. There's so much.
Speaking of, oh my god, I need to talk about Melanie before we are done here.
Okay.
Because I have so many thoughts on Melanie and John and their relationship.
Okay.
Because like, fuck me, I love Melanie King. And I'm gonna like read my notes here directly.
No, please do.
Because And also, I'm gonna fix their relationship in my fic because they deserve it.
Nice.
But I'm just gonna, so like, I will literally never get over the friendship she could have had with John. They're the same person, the worst in each other, the thing they hated most in each other. But if they'd met in better circumstances, could they have been the best in each other? Mm-hmm. Because like that was one of the things
They're
Johnny
foils.
has talked about when when he wrote their characters, was that like the reason they always like conflict is because they see the thing they hate most in the other person. Yeah. So they always clash. But it's like, when you think back to like the very first time they met, Melanie's all like, this is the thing that happened. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, they get through the statement and he's just like, okay, well, yeah. She's like, yeah, so I want to like research XYZ. And he's like, oh, well, have you considered this, that, and the other thing? And then they start talking like research for a hot second.
Go off
and they like,
other.
They geek out together.
Yeah.
And they like agree for just like a hot second. They're like the same person and they geek together and it's like really good. And I just think like, if it weren't for the horrors, they could have been so good. Yeah. But they're trapped in the horrors, which brings out the worst in them, which means they only see the worst in each other, which is the thing they hate most in themselves. And I want them to be best friends because they could be. Yeah. And it's like, and also Georgie just straight up has a type. She's dating she broke up with John and then just found a girl version of John and then dated her.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's good. Oh. It reminds me of like when, like, and I'm speaking definitely from personal experience, like when people clash with their parents because they're so similar.
Yes. Oh my God.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It's great.
They're like sibling energy.
Yeah, exactly.
They're again, to go back to my fic, I plan on with the Sasha situation, because I'm still gonna have Sasha taken by the not them. Okay. When Mel comes in to be like whatever, and then she's gonna be like, and where's Sasha, by the way? And he'll be like, what do you mean? She's like,
right there.
She'll be like, oh, you have two Sashas? Yeah. And he'll be like, no. And when she starts getting huffy, like, oh, blah, 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 mocking me, two Sashas, do you just collect them? And he'll be like, wait, no, what? And instead of letting her run out the door, he'll be like, no, wait, stop.
Yeah, like, this is
what in the fuck do you mean two Sashas? Please say the words to me. Yeah. I need to know. And then she explains, and he's like, okay, here's the thing. I'm going to put on my coat, and we're going to walk out, and I'm going to talk to you about research, and you're going to act like this is a normal conversation. And then we are going to go very far away from the Institute, and we're going to have this conversation again, where she can't hear because what the fuck do you mean that's not Sasha? Yeah. And then from there, she's going to be like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but like, fine. Mm-hmm. And then he brings her to band practice.
Yeah, it's good.
Where they can have the conversation there. He'll be like, oh yeah, these are all of my friends. And she'll be like, you have friends.
You have friends.
But then she gets brought into the fold and can be a friend.
Yeah, that's
And then that's one less clash that they have. Mm-hmm. Because they deserve it.
Yes.
And then also John is aware of the not Sasha. Mm-hmm. Because he deserves that. And then they'll bring Martin and Tim in as well. And then they'll have a plan.
Yes.
I haven't figured out what the plan is yet because I do want to save Sasha, but
you have time.
I've got a million years. I don't have to post this.
Yeah.
This is all on me. Hey, listeners, if you have an idea.
Yeah.
I've got like a baby of a plan, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It involves poetry.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else that you want to say? We're running out of time.
We very swiftly are. Let me double check.
I have just my favorite quotes after this.
Yeah, let's see. We talked about that. We talked about all the different tone shifts. Yep. We talked about the trolley problem. Mm-hmm. Talked about Chekhov's gun of the lighter.
Yep.
We talked about Snorks 14. Mm-hmm. I just adore how fear operates on dream logic.
It's cool.
Which I think is just like such a fast... Like, it makes sense. Because, like, if you think about it when you're just, like, hanging out... Or, like, when anxiety comes at you, it's like, you can say, like, oh, no, that's not how the world works.
Right, but like, you're still afraid of it.
Yeah, anxiety doesn't work that way, and fear doesn't work that way. It's like, but what if that is how the world worked?
Exactly.
So I just love that bit of logic. I had some, like, character thoughts, but, you know, we can always revisit this later if we want to.
Yeah, we can do a whole episode about one character.
I could talk.
Or like
I really could.
Characters.
Just shout out to Joshua Gillespie from episode 2.
Yes.
Who, like, honestly, I feel like if he came back, yeah, just like honestly, if we put him in charge of stopping any of the rituals, I feel like we'd be set. Yeah. But like
Galaxy Brain,
Joshua Gillespie.
I just use that as a coffee table and I put that shit in my freezer.
And we're good. We're just good. It's fine now.
I love that.
I think the only other thought I had was just like, those boys are somewhere else, and that's good.
I know, yeah. It's good because there's like possibilities there.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to see how they'll explore it like in the sequel series.
There's this not comic, I guess it's this series of art that I've been following on Tumblr. They've now posted it to AO3, so I'll post the link in the Discord, but of Somewhere Else, and it's all of our like least favorites, or our fave villains, I guess, but as kids in this Somewhere Else. So it's Simon, Peter, and Elias, all as kids who have become friends. And they're just like wandering around their like neighborhood and whatever and like having fun, but also like kind of noticing some strange things because this is where the fears have come through. And as things start to come after these kids, John is also like a monster John. And Martin is just like working in the local library. And like John is like watching them to see like, are these the same? Are they gonna grow up to be the same problems that they were for us? And like Martin's also kind of doing that as well, but like he's also a human person and can't really hide to do that. But it's like really good and also like really cute, and like these boys, I just want to protect them and give them hugs because like there's these monsters out there that could get them. And like little Simon is so cute. He's just like they're still very much like invested.
He's a good character.
Simon just like is always wearing like star stuff and like staring up at the sky.
That's cute.
And like Elias is very much like needs to have the answers for everything, so it's still very much like them, but it's also like not. And I will post the link in the Discord.
I want to check it out.
So yeah, I'll post it there for you and for any of you who join our Discord.
Yes, please join the Discord.
We'll do that info in a minute because you wanted to do your quotes.
Well, why don't you tell me what your favorite episodes are?
Oh yes, I do have that list.
Of that.
So yeah, I so the two that I think freak me out. No, I mean I have a couple that are like, the couple that freak me out the most are the Mag 15, which is Lost John's Cave.
Yeah, I'm
Take
very
Her
afraid
Not Me is like
buried as well.
Bone chilling.
Yeah, that one is very scary.
Ep 86, Tucked In, which is like scary in and of itself just because it's like on like a instinctive little kid episode. Yeah. It's the blanket never did anything.
Okay, yeah.
Which is like
that one's scary, yeah.
Again, it's like the episode itself is like, this is scary, and then you hear that line and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
And then I would say 177 Wonderland.
Oh my god, that one's terrifying.
It's genuinely unsettling, and the laugh that Johnny does in that as Dr. David haunts me to this day.
Yeah, it's very scary.
As favorites, not so much these are the scariest, but favorites for me are Revolution, which is the one I talked about earlier with the, because I love that it's like that weird like poetry statement, and also we all love the Ceaseless Watcher line.
Yes.
And then I love Fatigue. Again, because the statement is like weird. It's that like abstract, like half asleep episode or like statement. Exactly.
It's great. I love that one.
Fun fact, Johnny did stay up all night before writing that one just so he would be like in the mindset.
I could never do that.
I would.
No, I'm so bad if I pull all-nighters. Like I have recently for work and I hate it. Like
that's fair.
Oh, it's the worst. Okay, so
let's hear yours.
I already said kind of my scariest ones, but my favorite ones, Cheating Death.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's the number one I listen to all the time. Like if I'm just in the mood for
something spooky,
to listen to something cool that I like, it's that one. And I like the line from that one of the soldier whose boldness seeped out with his blood.
Ooh,
I just love that. Like,
that's very good.
I don't know why. Fatigue's on my list too.
Fatigue is just good. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like just so like it puts you in that hazy mindset.
It's so good.
It's so good.
I think it's a very good depiction of the spiral.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like Burial Rites, the one where they're going to Egypt and
yeah,
it's like
with the mummy.
Undead mummy. That is great to me because, I mean, just that concept is really cool.
Yeah.
Like, being, like, trapped, buried alive sort of thing, and, like, you can't die, but, like, you were in a constant state of, like, pain and suffering.
Yeah. Especially when it's, like, you were supposed to be, like, you went through everything. You're supposed to be dead.
Die, yeah. And just, like, that concept of not being able to die, like, that's hard, because... You know, back in vampire middle school days, everyone's like, oh, I'd love to be a vampire. I'd love to be immortal. And I'm like, no.
No, thank you,
no
actually.
No way.
I also like that one just because the statement giver is such an asshole.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
She's so funny.
She's awful. And then my... other favorite spiral one is Upon the Stair.
I love that one.
I love that one so much.
Oh, I should have added that to my list.
So good because, like, the poem is really good.
The poem's great.
And then, like, they changed the words of the poem at the end. So at the beginning, it's like, as I was going up the stair, I saw a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. Oh, how I wish he'd go away. And then that at the end, it changes to... As I was going up the stair, I was a man who wasn't there. I wasn't there again today. Oh, how I wish I'd go away.
It's so good.
I love that.
I mentioned earlier that I used Michael and the Spiral for inspiration in a D&D setting recently. And I actually used that poem as a so I had
That's a great poem.
A shadow on this. I had a stairway. It was like rounded, so it went up and then around and then back down. But there was no second story. It was just this like staircase. Mm-hmm. And I had a shadow on it, and you couldn't really see it until you got close. But and so like my players stood at the bottom of the staircase just staring at the staircase, and they're like,
man.
What is on there? And I was like, it's a staircase. And they're like, what? But where does it go? I'm like, you know, roll perception. They roll, and I was like, it's a staircase. It goes up and then down. Mm-hmm. And they stared at this for like 20 straight minutes.
Wow.
And then like left and then came back for another 20 straight minutes of real time.
Wow.
And like at one point, one of my characters did a detect thought spell that had like a range.
Ooh.
And so I was like, so then I had the shadow thinking, the Antigonish,
awesome.
You know, poem. But like, since it's like fading in and out, I would just like mumbled a little bit here and there.
Oh.
And only one person at the table knew the poem. But it was really fun because she was like, I know that poem. I know that poem. And I was like, aha.
It's great.
And I was like, surely this will clue you in to the fact that there is, in fact, something on the stair.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Your poor D&D group.
They struggled with the staircase. I eventually had to teleport them to the top of the staircase so the monster would attack them.
Hunter tries so much with her D&D group and they just miss everything.
I so hard. Sometimes I just have to force them there. Yeah. To be fair, I didn't just randomly teleport them. It was a mechanic of the manor house they were in. And I rolled and they did get luck put them there and it worked out.
Yeah.
I didn't just, you're gonna discover it whether you want to or not. It was all fair. I am kind to my players, I promise.
Yeah.
D&D is going to be a whole other episode. You guys are learning a lot about me in this one episode about all of my obsessions in one go.
Yeah. But also the last thing that I was going to say is our podcast art is inspired by Michael's character design.
Yes, it is. It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, so. You're purring on my foot.
Yeah, my cat's like, all right, it's time to stop.
It's time now. It's bedtime.
So y'all let us know, like, what your favorite Magnus episodes are, like, what's the scariest ones for you, like, what you like about it and everything, and share the fan art with us. We will share the fan art too. Like, it's awesome.
Yep. Tell us what fear you would be an avatar for, voluntarily or because it sucked you right in.
Yep. I'd definitely be Spiral.
I would be Web.
Nice.
I've learned this about myself. I would be web. Ooh, don't knock over the lamp. Baby girl.
Dude.
Yoda, leave the lamp alone.
All right.
The cat is demanding we leave. Reminder that you can join the Discord, but the cat really wants us to go. You can join the Discord by signing up for our Patreon, $1 tier. That's all we got. Otherwise, we'll see you on our socials.
Bye.
Bye.